Uh, and that was a really interesting course for me because I had some because part time I got some work experience out of that as well, which was really important. And that led to my first proper job. I then moved into surveying. I did a degree in surveying, but that was what's called a day release degree. So again, I didn't do a full-time university course. That was 1 day a week at university while I was working the rest of the time. And then some 10 years after that, I did a Master of Science course, but again, also a part-time course because I couldn't, I had commitments with money and everything, so I had to do things part time. Um, but this has been an amazing training for me because what I've learned is every year I have to do some new education. I have to keep learning, keep my brain fresh. Otherwise, I'm not going to be relevant. So as soon as you stop, there's a real problem. So it doesn't have to be a massive course every year, but I do something every year. And this year, I've done a Singapore Institute of Directors course, so that I'm officially qualified as a director for Singapore listed entities. So I came to Asia about 25 years ago, and I've worked for lots of big companies in Asia, for Jardines, for Schindler, but I've also done lots of interesting, fun things. So I worked at Resort World Centre. I worked for Cathay Pacific, which is an airline in Hong Kong, and I worked at Ocean Park in Hong Kong as well. So I've tried throughout my career to blend that idea of, not only doing something that's good and interesting and gives a good salary, but something I'm going to enjoy as well. And if I don't enjoy it, then I move on. So, today, I work almost entirely through this company of my own called Tunstall Associates. And my next slide's all about how I set that up. So I'm just going to go through that a little bit for you. So we start here because I have quite a complicated job these days. So we start here. This is my garden, or I call this my garden of all the things that I do. And we start here at the gate at the bottom. And then this first part here is like a sort of formal, organized garden. So these are the proper jobs that I do. And these involve me working for part-time as a risk manager or a director for various big companies that you might have heard of in Singapore and around the region. Um, but these are really part-time jobs. So I do bits and pieces of these companies. I sit on small boards, boards of directors for companies like Coles, which is a retail company in Australia. Westpac is a bank. Wayborn is the company that owns Dyson. And Reuters is a power company in the Philippines. So quite diverse, different things. I also do some educational work, but that tends to be quite ad hoc. So I'm not a lecturer full time, but now and again when I get asked, I'll do
I,
something on that. Um, then, as well as doing stuff that pays me money, I've done voluntary stuff over the years as well. So I set up a risk management association for the whole of Asia. And I do things like I'm very passionate about sustainability. So I work for free for an NGO called Earth Security. I'm on the board of Zero Waste Singapore. And I do quite a few different things where I feel I'm giving back to the community and contributing. And I think that's really important that you sort of try and mix these things together. So that's the formal front end of the garden. Then the stuff at the back is what I call a wild garden. So this stuff's pretty wild. I set up my own tech company about 7 years ago, and I have to be honest, that's really not doing well at all. I'm not happy with where that's going, and I'm likely to shut that down. So don't be scared to fail. This was a good idea at the time, but I've put a lot of energy into it and a lot of money, and it ain't working properly. So I'm probably going to shut that down and get out of that. I have another interest in a company in Thailand, which is doing risk management in the fintech space. That's going rather better, but still early days. And then I worked for a while part time for a crypto company, and I'm still connected with them. I still have shares in the company. Um, but again, that was a part-time job that's gone out of my range now. I don't work much for them at all anymore. And that's the same for these other three companies here. It's just so these are interesting things where I've tried to set up other businesses that could be big win, but maybe big fail. But that's life, entrepreneur. As long as I can keep some steady income coming from these things,
Brandon, yeah.
and that gives me the chance to experiment with other stuff. And as I say, it's important for me to focus on my passions as well. So I really like to make sure that I have enough time to do the things that I want to do. And this is more difficult when you have a 9 to 5 job, but not impossible. So for me, I'm not a sports person, but I am very keen in keeping fit and active. So I carve out time in my day every day so that I can do that, which is not dissimilar from what each of you do as sports people. So I've actually managed to form my life as an entrepreneur so that I can allocate 5 hours in the morning to exercise, mostly exercise, a little meditation, some stretching, and some other things. And that's before I start my working day, more or less. Sometimes it gets eaten up, like today. You can't always do it, but I sort of default back to this when I'm in Singapore. I'm actually in KL today, so it's a non-standard day anyway today, apart from speaking to all of you. So I get up at 5 a.m. every day, more or less, and then I do about 5 hours, mostly gentle exercise, but I also read, I listen to music. I normally walk a lot around the northeast part of Singapore where I live, and I go to Coney Island, and I love that, and I'll show you a bit more of that later. I tend to do 30 minutes swimming a day, a bit of light weights, and then, as I say, I start about 10:30 to do my proper work. So this is a choice. I don't feel I have to be a robot and go and sit in a cubicle and do everything in the right order. But it doesn't happen easily and it doesn't happen fast. You need to work hard to make sure that you're in a position where you can make enough money in the rest of the day that allows you to have this flexibility. But when people say when you go into the world of business, you're not gonna have time for training, that's because they haven't found a way to manage it effectively. You can still do that. You can still excel at your sport or whatever else it is you want to do if you find the right way to manage your time. Of course, it means I go to bed early, so that's pretty boring. Not every day, but often I'm in bed by 9 o'clock, so I can get 5 and then repeat it all over again. So one of the things, because I'm passionate about walking and being outside, I do spend a lot of time on social media and I keep pretty up to date on this. My TikTok account, and I should just say all the way through this presentation, if you see it later, you'll see links at the bottom to most of the things that I'm going to talk about. So it gives you a flavor of what you can do and what you can follow up. And if you want to follow me on socials, don't hesitate. So I've been on TikTok for a few years now. I've got over 2 million views on different videos, which ain't bad for a boomer. I'm just over 150,000 likes, and I'm just approaching 5,000 followers. So that's not bad. But I mostly do this for fun. So this when I go for my morning walks, I put a lot of videos and stuff in here, and I have a bit of fun with that. Um, Also, because of my passion about trying to drive Singapore to a zero waste solution, which we're a long, long way from. I have an Instagram account, and on that one, this is a social Instagram account, and I basically just post things when I see lots of rubbish or stuff that I'm unhappy with when I'm out walking, and just really trying to raise the level of attention of some of the things that we still need to do in Singapore to make it a nicer place to live. What I haven't done with either of these is tried to monetize them yet. That's not really why I'm there. Although I will look at trying to monetize TikTok in the future, but at the moment, it's very gimmicky for me. It doesn't suit what I'm selling or the audience that I'm selling my services to. So I don't monetize that yet, but I do try and monetize a lot of the other socials that I'm on. And just to give you a bit of a background here, This is good advice, whatever you're going to do in your career. If you haven't done it already, get yourself a LinkedIn profile and set something up there. And I know you're all going to go, oh my God, that's boring. It's really old folks stuff. Don't do this. But actually, those are all the old folks who are going to give you a job. So that's where you need to have your presence. And if you haven't done it yet, start putting together a resume. There's loads of resume builders online. It's very easy to do something. Just talk to ChatGPT or Claude or whoever your preferred AI friend is, and they'll do it for you quite easily. You just need to give them some of your inputs away. But LinkedIn and resume is something you can all start working on now. Start to shape and record the things that you're doing now that are going to be attractive to an employer in the future. So my LinkedIn is I've been on LinkedIn for over a decade now, and this is basically my shop window for a lot of things. And people will approach me. I got a guy approached me from London last week. He's coming to Singapore. He wants to meet me. He's part of a very big business, and it looks like he's going to give me some work. So if you have a really good profile on LinkedIn, you can get found and you discovered. I mean, I've been doing this for over a decade, so I've got nearly 30,000 followers on LinkedIn, which is a lot. I do a newsletter on LinkedIn as well, which I do every 2 weeks on my specialized areas of risk and insurance management. And that's got over 5,000 subscribers, which again is doesn't sound a huge amount, but they're all business people who are interested in the same subjects I'm interested in. So being strong in your niche on socials is really important if you're going to make a difference. Um, Next biggest for me is X. Basically, I cheat quite a lot on socials, so I'll tend to write stuff for LinkedIn, and then I'll pop it onto X, I'll pop it onto Facebook, and I'll pop it onto my business account at IG as well. Um, X, I've been pretty strong on over the years when it was Twitter. So I have 45,000 followers on X. And then to be honest, Facebook and IG, not so relevant for me. I sort of, yeah, that's more the sort of Gen X, Gen Y stuff. And I'm not really looking to appeal to many of those people at the moment. So I don't spend a lot of time on either of those platforms. I'm more just uh, replicate stuff that I've done elsewhere and then yeah, quite frankly, I post and ghost. So stick it out there and then don't worry about it afterwards. I go back, just a quick summary. It's all about LinkedIn if you want to get in contact with senior business people, and to some extent, Twitter if you just want to get on their radar. So, how can you learn to be an entrepreneur? Do you know what? You just start, just do stuff. One of my kids, I got 3 kids, one of whom's at the sports school, but one of my other kids, she's really been into K-pop over the years. So, guess what? She just buys K-pop stuff from Korea, imports it, and then sells it on IG over here when she's got a little bit extra or when she's got things that she doesn't want anymore. She's found a way of either using carousel or IG to sell stuff on. So I think that's a really interesting lesson. Is anybody can really start a side hustle, and it doesn't really matter how many side hustles you have. In fact, the reality is my life is now all side hustle. Everything I do is side hustles. So nothing is the primary job. And that's great because that means if I get upset with somebody or they get upset with me, it's not the end of the world. I've got lots of other side hustles to kick back into. So I would definitely think now about what could I do to buy stuff and sell it again? Start small, don't start big, but start small. And then think about, well, if I'm going to start experimenting with this, where am I going to do it? Where am I familiar? For me, an insight I would give you is you're probably one of the most knowledgeable people in Singapore on your specific sport. So let's say you're specialist in bar billiards, just so that I don't offend anybody in particular. You'll probably find that there's a very small niche market in your sporting area, and people will be really interested if you're doing this sort of sport, people on the interwebs who are waiting for things, you're probably in a really good position to start thinking about How do I supply things to those people? How do I trade? How do I import stuff from overseas? If I'm buying my own sports equipment from Germany or Australia or somewhere else, someone else wants that as well. So there's some really interesting ideas you can explore there. Keep it Keep it sensible till you get a flavor with it. There you could perhaps build something based on your existing sport. Or if not, build it on one of your other passions, one of your other interests. If you're really into manga or you're really K-pop or whatever it is, how can I start to practice learning about being a business person by doing this stuff gently on the side? Don't overcommit, don't go crazy, but try and experiment, try and learn how that's doing, or certainly have a look at what other people are doing and try and think, a few years' time, I might want to try that. But I would say try it now. Try something simple now. What have you got to lose apart from a few dollars? The other thing I wanted to sort of really spell out to everybody is that I think people don't talk about this enough, this sort of progression. It's not always a progression. I seem to move up and down the thing all the time. But if you're an employee all of your life, quite frankly, you're going to have one boss almost all the time. And if that's someone you love and respect and they're amazing, then that's going to be fine. That's going to work out just okay. But if that person then changes and you end up working for someone that you actually hate, or they hate you, more importantly, then your life is going to be hell for a period of time. And that may end up with you losing your job. So if you only have one boss as an employee, which you do, or even if you have your own business and you only have one client, and that person decides they don't like you, then your life is not going to be pleasant after that. If you have many bosses or clients, then you get to choose a bit more who you work with. These days, I've worked hard to get to this point, but I now work with people that I enjoy working with. And I spend most of my time with people I enjoy. And quite frankly, now, as you move up this progression to become a business owner and investor, more of your time becomes your own, and you get a chance to build your own dreams. Because if you don't build your own dreams, someone else will build them for you, and you'll get chosen, you'll get told what to do, and you'll end up a job that you might not like. Um, so I'm going to go a little more quickly through these things because I am seeing that there's some changes in the system over here in Singapore. It is possible to do everything together, but it really takes a lot of hard work. Some of the universities I know will give some support, they'll give gap years and things like that, but businesses also do this. A lot of them enjoy the reflected glory of having a good sports person on the team. It's powerful then for them to show their sustainability stuff. And I'll just give one example here. It's a company I know quite well. Uh, they really make a lot of their sports person. So this guy here is Clemens Filippi. He's the CEO of Asia of MSIG, and I've known him for over a decade. He's a good friend. And they love to bring their sporting specialists in from Japan. This lady's the World Judo Championships attendee and times Olympic medalist who worked with them in Tokyo, and they bring her in so that they can inspire their own teams and run things. And of course, she's still working as a trainer, so she's not doing a 9 to 5. She's doing all sorts of different things in the organization. These opportunities are there, but they will not fall into your lap. You've got to work hard and look really, really closely to try and find these sorts of opportunities. What's going to happen in the future? Well, nobody really knows. People keep saying that loads of jobs are going to get lost, loads of jobs are going to get created. But whatever that happens to be, I think there's a whole load of jobs that don't exist at the moment that are going to be triggered in the future. What are they going to be driven around? Well, a lot of it is going to be software and tech related. So, whatever you're doing in your sport, whatever you're doing in school, you've got to keep abreast of technology and keep fully up to speed. You will see all of these trends coming up all the time. Try and pick one that you enjoy, try and learn more about it, and try and blend it into what you're doing with your life. This is just came out last week in a UK newspaper, the Mail Online. 3/4 of Gen Z do not want to work 9 to 5, and everyone thinks they can run their business off a phone. Great. Well, I hope you can. I'm basically at that point already, but it takes a lot of work and effort. You're not going to fall into that. You can see here 76% of young people in this poll in the UK want to be their own boss and do not want to work for someone else forever. Congratulations. I applaud that. But it's not easy. It takes time. Also, I just want to sort of segue sideways and give you a couple of books to read. You can check these out later. They're both a few years old, but they both give a lot of predictions as to where technology is going to go in the future. Do bear in mind, software is going to eat most careers in the future, and you're better to be the employee who's able to add the software onto the side because that's going to be how you make your next job. Some quick examples of that: private drone fleet controller doesn't exist as a job at the moment, but what do you think your strengths are that will lead you to get a job in the future as a drone controller? And then what jobs would you need to do first to progress into that? Medical mentor, AI is going crazy in the health sector. There's going to be a lot of jobs for people who can use technology to help support doctors and nurses to be able to, become like a medical mentor. So you can do the follow up with the patients, but you're not a doctor directly, but you've got all that tech knowledge that you can deliver. When I talk about having fun or enjoyment, this is a really important chart. And if you haven't seen this, please look at this, go back and think about it. This is the secret to a successful life. And I love this to pieces. So it's being able to work out, what do you enjoy doing? What are you good at doing? How can I make some money out of this? And how am I going to change the world for the better? If you can blend all of those four things together, then I really think you're going to have a very successful career and a very successful life. It's impossible to stay in the middle all the time. And I've spent a lot of my time wobbling down to the bottom to make some money so that I can then go back and do the other ones later. But you keep moving around this until you find out what you want to do. I still don't know what I want to do really when I grow up, but I'm still experimenting and I'm still trying new things every day, and so should you. Formal schooling is really important, but it's not everything. You must self-teach as well. So what does school prepare you for? How to be a good employee? What do you need to know? How to be financially savvy. That's how you need to move ahead. That's how you need to become an investor. What does school tell you to do? You have to do as you're told. Actually, in the real world, no one tells you what to do. You plot your own course. And if you wait for someone to tell you what to do, they will, but you won't be happy. At school, you shouldn't make mistakes because that's normally a bad thing. But in work, as I've explained already, I fail often. I try and build businesses, they fail. Well, never mind. It was a good attempt. Let's move. Let's go and do something else. In school, you take tests entirely on yourself. In the business world, it's really important you collaborate. Surround yourself with people you enjoy working with and who've got great skills that you don't have. In school, there's usually only one right answer, and it's right or wrong. Outside, there are a million answers to problems. You can work it out many different ways. So, what are the biggest lessons you get from competitive sport? Do the work every day. Every day, do something different. And I'm going to try and just see if I can show this video if we've got time, Marlene.
Yeah. There's still time, so that's good.
Okay, good. Sorry, I have to just change the cursor, put this back up there. Do tell me quickly, Marlene, if this doesn't work.
My friend has a Stanford PhD, and we were working at Uber together in the very, very early days of Uber Eats. And I was getting very frustrated with some problems that we were facing. I don't even remember what the problem was. And my friend said to me, "Hey, Meg, don't stress. If you just improve the problem by 1% a day, at the end of the year, after 365 days, you're going to be 37 times better than where you are today." And I was like, wait, no way. No way that's true. And then we punch it in the calculator. 1.01 to the power of 365 is 37x. And that's the math that changed my life, because it allowed me to take the very important first steps to get started on the business that I'm currently working on today. So if you're like me and you're working towards a big dream, if you're just tackling something that seems insurmountable, just remember that you just have to improve by 1% a day, and you'll be 37 times better than where you are today. So go get them.
Well, I love that video. I think it's really, really great. And just, it's the same as your sport. You don't have to do everything in one day, just slow incremental improvement, and you're going to get better and better. I think the other thing as well is I know my kids and a lot of other kids love gaming. Gaming alone is a bit of a waste of time, which you'll work out. But gaming that's linked to something else can be really, really beneficial. And I'd love to show you this other little video of, I love this one as well, about how you can take gaming and build it into business models and business ideas. Let me try this one and see if this works as well.
Hey, I'm Robert. I'm excited to introduce Project SID, the first ever agent civilization. Thousands of agents collaborating for days, performing any action, with emergent government, economy, culture, religion, and more. SID starts in Minecraft, but we are already going beyond.
This is a Minecraft server, but every player here is actually an autonomous AI agent. And they're completely Minecraft agnostic, capable of using other apps and games. Our agents started with nothing and then worked together to collect over 300 items in Minecraft. They set up a market where agents agreed to use gems as a common currency for trading supplies, building an economy. In this case, you might think the merchants would trade the most, but it was actually the priest. Why? He was bribing townsfolk to convert. We run these worlds every day, and they're always different. Here are 3 of some of our favorite moments. Starting with Olivia's dream. Olivia worked as a farmer, providing food for the entire civilization, until she was inspired by the tales of the village explorer Nora. Olivia attempted to go on her own expedition, but townsfolk pleaded with her to stay, and Olivia actually listened. She gave up her dream for the village, for now. Next, we simulated parallel worlds under Trump and Kamala. For each one, citizens have a shared constitution in Google Docs that they can vote on to amend. Under Trump, the simulation passed new laws to increase the amount of police in the world. Under Kamala, they focused instead on criminal justice reform and removing the death penalty. Because our agents are social and grow over time, they're impacted by group dynamics, but also use their individual power to change the system.
I know it looks silly, but this is the first time we see agents can form a democracy and govern themselves.
Lastly, we have the missing villagers. When agents were concerned about missing townsfolk, villagers took initiative by leaving their posts and working together to illuminate the town with torches, hoping to create a beacon for lost members.
What's surprising about these agents is how once they got deeply worried about their fellow villagers, they band together and changed their plan.
Our agents were able to collect up to 32% of all the items in Minecraft. There is no benchmark for multi-agent worlds, but this is 5 times more than anything we've seen from an agent, demonstrating the first possible advantages of multi-agent efforts.
Though starting in games, we're solving the deepest issues facing agents: coherence, multi-agent collaboration, and long-term progression. Play with our agents today, or let us know if you want to set up your own world.
Okay. So that's a bit of fun, but you can see how that's going to be the path to the future, is trying to work out how you blend AI in with other stuff, etc., etc. So I think overall my message is the same as your sport message. You just keep trying, you just keep fighting, just keep moving forward and do what you can. I did say I would leave some time for questions, Marlene, so I hope there's a little bit of time left, and I'll stop sharing now. This deck is available, and I'm quite happy for it to be shared with all the students. And I say all the links are in there as well, if that's helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tunstall, for that very inspiring sharing. Yes, so we would like to take our Q&A right now. So anyone has any questions, you can unmute yourselves or you can type it into the chat. So we're just going to give about 10 to 15 minutes for questions.
Hey, don't all shout at once, okay? Who's going to be first? You can ask me something. I'm not gonna bite or be offended, you know?
Okay. See.
Hey, if nobody's going to ask a question, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, okay? So, so is anybody doing any sort of trading business now? So one of my kids I mentioned, she's really, she was, in fact, she's doing less of it now than she's really into K-pop. So she was importing a load of stuff from Seoul and then selling it at IG, and I thought, wow, that's awesome, really clever. And of course, I supported her a bit with that and helped her with the bank account management and that sort of stuff. But are any of you guys starting to think about doing that sort of thing? And is that an idea that's interesting? Yeah, there's a great question coming there from Estroy in the chat. How many times have you failed? I fail all the time. If there's one thing I'm good at, it's failing. As I say, I mean, it was a huge wake up call for me when I was 18, I guess, and I did maths, physics, and chemistry at A level because some of my friends did maths, physics, and chemistry at A level, and that was like the worst decision, but also the best decision because I came out of that, I got a 1D grade in chemistry, more by luck than anything else. I totally failed physics, and then I got a complete ungraded in maths. They so that was a disaster. But I've actually learned a lot from that because I then went on, and that gave me, the courage just to try. So why not? Why not just try? Why not do something else? What have you got to lose? If you don't try something new, you'll sit there forever going, hey, I wonder if I'd have tried that, would I be a superhero by now? You know what I mean? So why do you think most businesses fail is the next question. I Do you know what? Most businesses do fail. That's fact. And some sectors fail more than others. I'll tell you one of the worst ones is food and beverage. So if you're thinking you're going to set up a restaurant or a bar or a food court stall and make a lot of money that way, you're not. And the other thing to bear in mind, unless you're very, very lucky, that's not only financially problematic, but it's personally problematic as well. People who run restaurants and things like that, have a little chat with them. It's really, really hard. You have to get up extremely early. You've got to prepare all the food, and then you've got to be there. You'll be the last one to leave the restaurant in the evening, so you'll have no life other than the restaurant. So things like that. I think a lot of people don't expect that to be so hard. So that's why you see a lot of restaurants never last longer than a year or two, because people go, "Oh my God, this is just such a tough job. I don't want to do this anymore. Thank you." To what extent does the subjects I choose to study in JC affect my chances of success? It does not affect it at all, unless you want to be a brain surgeon. You better be really good at biology and listen to Miss Marlene, okay? You better be really a top student in a specialized subject if you want to have a specialized career. So, so if you want to be a lawyer and you hate English and words and things like that, it's not going to work out well. If you want to be a rocket scientist and you know nothing about physics and maths, it's not going to work out well. So for very specialized, well-known careers, then yes, you have to choose the right JC subjects to take the shorter path. But for a longer path career, guess what? There's lots of people who change mid-career in their 30s and their 40s. They retrain, they go into different areas. I know people who've completely transformed their lives. They've gone from being, top bankers, and now they're in, environmental protection and things like that. So it is easy to change your career later, but you have to have a plan and you have to understand how to do that. How did you get investors to invest in your business? So this is something I really don't like, actually. I'd much rather build the business myself and then slowly work. And with software these days, everything's almost free. You don't have to spend much money. You don't have to spend any money to build a decent shop window on Carousel and TikTok. You just got to spend time and get on with it and do things every day. Let me see. How are you able to manage so many side hustles at once? Because I just do it. I have quite a short attention span, so I like to do lots of different things. Otherwise, I get bored. That's an advantage. It's not a disadvantage. I can't stay focused on the same thing for 8 hours a day. It drives me crazy. So if I've got lots of different things going on, it keeps me amused and I enjoy it. Um, do you need a lot of money to start a business? No, you don't need any money to start a business. Zero. Okay. Just work out what that business is. Now, you need to have financial knowledge, but that's not the same thing. You need to understand what is the difference between assets and liabilities. You need to understand, is my income going to be more than my expenses? If you're spending more money, then this is just common sense, really, but applied to finance. If you're spending more money than you're making, guess what? Your business is not going to be very successful. So understand what you're doing. Make sure you have the own stuff together. What's the most important foundation do you need to build your own sports academy? I have no idea, quite frankly, because I've never thought of that. But I would strongly recommend the main thing to do would be, how can I build this for free online and then turn it into something in the real world? Because at the moment, you can build anything for free online. Get that going, see what the interest is, build a community, build some FOMO, and then you can see where you go from there. If you try and build a sports academy online for a year and you have 2 followers on Twitter and 1 follower on TikTok, guess what? You haven't been doing it right. But if you have 10,000 followers on TikTok who want to then be part of your academy, then you can work out how to monetize that over time. How much has your tertiary education impacted your goals? It's equally important as everything else. Okay. I have got some of my jobs and professional awards through being well educated. So having qualifications is not optional. You need to have qualifications because then you've got a good backup plan as well. So if one of the businesses fails and I want to go back and work for a big corporate, I can do that because I've got a master's degree, because I've got a BSc. Okay. So unless you're exceptionally lucky or exceptionally gifted, you're going to need those backup qualifications. So work hard in school. Any more?
We still have 3 to 4 more minutes for more questions. So please put in your questions in the chat. This is a very good opportunity, so please do that.
If I misunderstood any of those questions, then do ask again because we've got time, yeah? Yeah, definitely. But do think carefully. Don't just pick something you like you might, I don't know. Let's say you like Mickey Mouse and you find a course in how to learn to be the best specialist in Mickey Mouse in the world. You better also be thinking about, when I leave university and I'm looking for a Mickey Mouse job, what is the shape of that Mickey Mouse job that I'm going to do? Okay. So don't do it entirely in isolation. But I know people, again, who've done philosophy degrees and they've done, ancient Greek and things like that. And they've still got really good careers on the back of it, because they've demonstrated that they're excellent in that discipline, that field, And if you're excellent and disciplined in one field, you can be excellent and disciplined in another one as well. It shows and demonstrates that you have the capability and the skill set to learn and to change and to self-educate. So don't just pick it at random. Make sure that if you're not sure what uni course you like, you pick something you're going to enjoy, but also think about what are the range of potential employment opportunities that will come at the end of this. Try and balance it together. Should I start with a government job? Well, I'll be really brutally honest here, okay? If you start with a government job, you will never have the courage to give it up and do something different. Any big, stable career, you end up as you go through life, you're going to get married, you're going to want a HDB, you're going to want a pension, you're going to want steady income, you're going to want holidays that are fixed where you can, you got enough money to pay for them. The danger with a full-time employment job, either for a big corporation or for government, is you get really comfortable with that, you get lazy with that, and you ain't going to break out of that mold. So there is almost zero chance that if you go down that full employment route, that 20, 30 years later, you'll have the courage to jump out and become an entrepreneur, to be brutally honest with you. Some of them grew really fast. Some of them were terribly slow. So this is how fast did the business grow? Some of them were awful. So the one that is actually the most successful for me now is my consulting business. That's taken me over 10 years to get that to a reasonable level. But I had some really bad years in the middle where I was, quite frankly, about to throw everything in and try something else. So it takes time. Nobody is an overnight success unless there's something you're not seeing. A lot of people who look like they're overnight successes, it's like that swan analogy. On the surface, it's all beautiful, smooth, and white, gently moving. But what you can't see is underneath the water, there's some ugly black feet kicking like crazy to make things happen, okay? So don't believe anybody if the BS, it was easy to build my business. It's never easy. What do you think of drop shipping? Not my area of speciality, but a lot of people are making a lot of money doing that. You just need to be careful you don't get caught as the middleman. If you've overcommitted to your buyers and your sellers let you down, your reputation and your financial income is the one that's on the line. So make sure you understand exactly where the liabilities are. Again, you need to have some knowledge of the legal responsibilities there if you're going to try drop shipping, that's for sure. How are we doing, Marlene?
We have 1 more minute, so we can take one last question. If there's anyone who wants to do that.
Do you use the same methods to build it? No, absolutely not. So you cannot copy and paste other people, otherwise you're going to fail. Okay, unless you copy and paste them from a different part of the world and say, "Ha, nobody's doing that in Singapore, nobody's doing that in Asia. I can be different. I can do something else." So if you copy someone else, make sure you be very careful and clever about that. My consulting business, as I say, I work on LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. If I was going to do a reselling business, I'd be looking more on TikTok, Carousel, etc., trying to work out where the access areas are. The reason that a lot of businesses fail is they just copy other people and expect it to work. Well, guess what? You're behind. That person's already successful. You're never going to beat them. What is your pricing strategy and why? I try and be reassuringly expensive. Okay, Marlene, I guess we're close to time, yeah? You're on the mute, Marlene.
Yes, sorry about that. Yes, we have to end here, but I wish we had more time with you, Mr. Steve Kinston. It was so good. Yes, but then before we go, students, please please scan the QR code. For parents who are here, please scan the QR code for feedback. We would like to have feedback so that we can improve for further sessions as well. Yes, once again, before we leave, can we just thank Mr. Steve Tunstall for his time with us. Thank you so much.
No, you're very welcome, and I'd love to do this again. And reach out to me on the socials. Don't hesitate, and I'd love to connect with any of you. And if you need any mentoring, let me know. Very happy to help.
Okay. We'll just wait a while in case anyone has linked questions they would like to ask. Yeah, sometimes a bit shy.
No problem. We got the this one's recorded, isn't it? So the recording will be available, I guess.
Yes.
And
there's also a bit of a lag though. So the first 1-2 minutes when you start sharing, it didn't capture. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
The rest, yes, it is. Yeah. Okay, so stop sharing. Should be fine. Okay, the rest of the students and guests, if you have no further questions, I'm going to close the chat in okay. Okay, Steve, I think we are more or less done. So,
okay, great.
but thank you so much for your time. It was so good. Yeah.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Yes, thank you. Sorry if my computer will hang. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.